So thank you guys for tuning back in.
We're back.
We're back. This is been a minute since we had all of us on here. Been busy.
Yes.
Been doing a lot of things. I know Amaris works like 19 jobs.
Yes, and still
No big
manages
deal.
to keep it all together.
And still manages not to touch meat, which is a whole nother subject.
It is a whole other subject.
But there's a lot going on in the world that I know, Marissa, you held it down for us on the last episode, talking about, some things that are going on in the world that
Very controversial topic.
I think that everyone has a difference of opinion in. As always, we have our guy Ethan here looking up all the clickbait shit for us so we can talk about. But
I think it's important to be able to have an opinion, though, right? Like that's why
Yes.
people have podcasts, because there's no limit to the things that you can talk about, and you're able to have your opinion. And if people don't like it, that's okay. If they don't agree with you,
then
like,
can not listen to the episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we also need to, I feel like, as a society, learn to like be okay with people not having the same opinion as you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And our mantra on our podcast is powered by conversation.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of times we have discussions amongst ourselves, and we kind of always wanted to kind of stay away from some things. But I feel like holding true to ourselves, and why we started this podcast, our opinions, they matter for us, and
Yeah.
maybe some people agree, maybe some people don't agree, but
that's okay.
That's life. So
Yes.
I mean, the first thing is
He's waiting.
did any of you guys no did
nervous
any of
right
you
now.
guys see the Hillsong documentary?
I have not seen
You
it
have
yet.
not seen it. But I remember you said you've been to Hillsong,
Yeah.
right?
Rocky and I used to go with Rocky.
And you used to give tidings and stuff like that there?
Did I give tidings there? No.
No?
Because I also went to another church too.
So you had a home church that you would give your
Yeah.
friends.
So why did you go to Hillsong? Like, why was it so important for you to drive to LA to go to that church?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't drive. Rocky would drive. So there's that.
princess.
If you know me, I hate driving. But honestly, when I would go there, it was just such a great, it was a great experience. And they always had amazing pastors there, talking. It was just a great experience. It really was praise and worship, everything. I loved going there. I did.
So those of you guys that, if you live under a rock, you don't know, Hillsong is a big mega church. It started in Australia, made its way to, the documentary, New York, LA, a bunch of locations. But really what kind of, I don't want to say put it on the map, but what it's really known for a lot of people that don't go to church is the lead pastor, Carl Lentz, cheated on his wife, right? So it came out that his mistress had all these messages and recordings of them. And so it was kind of one of those things where it was a black eye on the church. But the documentary itself really went deep into, deeper than I ever thought, mega churches were involved in.
Yeah.
Using the tithing for Rolexes and taking lavish vacations and kind of the whole story with Carl Lentz and how it happened, how he cheated. I was surprised to see him on that actual documentary, because he's been quiet for 2.5 years, 3 years. He's been off social media and everything. So, and he kind of talked against the church, not religion itself. So I don't want to get that confused, but against the Hillsong church, how it's run, some of the hardships that he had to go through. I think the biggest thing for me was, how they treated him after all of it happened.
Yeah.
Right. You know that you go to church and everybody sins. And I think and shout out to Matt Savvy.
We love him.
He's like my spiritual leader.
Yes.
I go to that guy for everything. And I kind of said, hey, did you see this documentary? It's crazy what these mega churches do. And, there was infidelity, there was rape charges.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of stuff that went on in that church that I was like, wow.
That church specifically.
Yeah. It's specifically that church. But one thing Matt always kind of grounds me and brings things forward. And he was kind of man sins no matter what. That's just what they do,
true.
So it's, I wanted to be oh yeah, see, I told you. But at the same time, I see the way Matt runs his life and does things, and it kind of brought it back to perspective. But the way that they just buried that man, Carl Lentz, they made it seem like he was just this addicted to sex, and you feel
instead of being there for them and helping him,
100%, and that's what they were saying on there. But there was just so much to it that I can see why some people are really jaded with church, and why some people kind of feel it's ran by man and it's ran like a corporation,
right?
So why would I go to this thing every Sunday and give them money? They even had a thing on there where they had levels of tithing. So if you gave over 5,000, then you could have lunch with the pastor.
Oh gosh.
If you so they had levels. It was almost like a credit card. I got the American Express Gold,
Oh no.
which is like crazy to me.
And a lot of churches, the first thing that they do talk about is tithing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I came from a small church, like a smaller church. So this isn't like, I'm not trying to be anti-church because I one thing, again, savvy was, it is ran by man. And you have to understand that mankind, men, women, we sin every day. So it was just, for me, it was more of like, wow, how incredibly corrupt that church
naturally
was.
man is selfish, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think we've all had some kind of Christian background or whatever. So I grew up in the church. I grew up very similar to the situation, but just it's not global, like it's not on a global level. My dad was a pastor at the church. We had this picture perfect kid. I was growing up as a pastor's kid. Fast forward, I get out of high school and I find out my dad's cheating on my mom. And so it's one of those things where you don't even have to be on that global scale, but it happens. But also when that happens, the wife doesn't even get support. Maybe the whole family, maybe you guys shouldn't be around right now.
That's 100%.
100% true. So it's like, think about this, like my mom, we have, you never see eye to eye with your mom, but you think about those situations when somebody is at their most vulnerable
and you're pushing them away,
and they've established their whole life, their whole relationship within these four walls, thinking that these people are going to have my back
no matter what
system.
It's like, but maybe right now it's not the time for us to be supported.
Wow.
So it's like it's going to be said in a politically correct fashion or whatever, but even your best friends through the church who you think have your back, take a step back.
That's so crazy because that's literally verbatim what happened with them and why they were so devastated. Like them meaning like Carl Lentz and his wife was like, they were actually friends. Their families were friends with the founder of it. So for them, they were like, even Carl Lentz is like, I confided in the church and I told them everything. Like I didn't hold back any details. I told them because he had another affair prior to that one, and he's like, I disclosed everything because I got the church, my family's going to take care of me. And what they did is they used him as
and you can understand
the lamb, the sacrificial
people
lamb.
look at churches being so hypocritical.
Yeah, and it goes back to, it's like church and religion, they're two separate things, right? Like we all have our jaded, like I'm jaded from this or that, but you just learn from that relationship. And maybe now I don't have a home church, but that doesn't mean like
that you still don't practice your religion.
Exactly. So I just think it's crazy that yes, it's on a global, but I think it happens on so many smaller churches, your community churches that are right down the street that you're like, oh well, everyone's so proper here and they have your back, but everyone, like you said, every man sins.
And I always had, I don't want to say an issue, but I always thought it was weird to be a mega church. I always thought it was weird to have your church be that big that you need that much money to operate it. You know what I mean? Like because someone that's like even Carl Lentz, I just use him because he's out there now, but he started off with not a lot of money, right? Then he started running this church. Now he's touching millions of dollars, rubbing shoulders with all these celebrities. I mean, I know we were talking about it because I know you and I are into fashion. He was wearing a $5,000 leather jackets, Fear of God, Tom Ford suits, and you're kind of you see him up there and
he's always on trend.
And he's up there preaching and you're like, bro, your whole fit is $10K.
Literally
your whole fit is $10K. Is that
from head to toe, shoes and all?
And I get
the
it.
Salary of a pastor.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I get it, but that's a very lush, lavish
life.
I think it has to do with the type of gospel that's preached at the church, because there's a prosperity gospel and the social gospel. And the prosperity gospel is what a lot of the mega churches preach, which is everyone deserves money, and it's more based on the individual's faith, versus social gospel, which is based on community and what does it say here? Social justice, communal beliefs, versus prosperity gospel, which promotes gains through individual faith. So I grew up in the prosperity gospel churches, which ours was heavily connected with Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, and all the churches that have a lot of negative light shined on them now. And going back, watching documentaries on all these pastors, it's holy shit, we were up there, with the cameras on us, as kids growing up in this, thinking all this is normal, collecting tithes from people. And there's a HBO documentary that followed another megachurch from the pastor Benny Hinn, And he's famous for his acts of healing and, healing people through the Holy Spirit, whether it's like just touching them or, speaking in tongues, which was another aspect of, the church I grew up in as well. And the documentary followed a couple whose son had cancer. And that couple's belief that their son would be healed was so tied to their belief that, the more we tithe, the more our son is going to be healed. The more we tithe, the more that the more likely that God is going to heal our son. And during one of the healing services, they followed the son and the parents up to the pulpit. Benny Hinn prays over the son and, asks him if he feels any better. He says no. Prays over him again, says no. He says, okay, just give it some time. God will heal you. The documentary crew follows up with the parents a little bit later. The son had passed. And one of the questions that the documentary crew asked the parents was, do you think if you had tithed more money, your son would still be alive? And the parents said yes.
Wow.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
And
no, I mean, I think what you're touching on is the difference between, and
the community and action.
I don't think there's anything wrong with tithing. Like I grew up in a small church. We had a food bank.
Yeah.
We knew exactly where that money was going to. We hosted events that were free for everyone that came to the church. Like every Sunday we would have breakfast for people or we would have lunch for people. So we knew giving money, I remember we built another wing of the church and we turned that into a food bank, and it was super small, but we needed money to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So I completely understand that. The pastor had a house that was on the same church property, so they need to pay that, and I get that because
and you see where it's going.
It takes time. It takes time to do a sermon.
Either, right?
They don't pay taxes, no. So it takes time to do a sermon and to do that. It's not an easy job. But I can see where that stuff is going and I understand. But when you get to a mega church level, do you have to take a private jet to get to A to Z? Do you have to wear a $10,000 outfit in order to get the same message across?
Right.
Or is that for your own self? Yeah. And that's before any of this went through, that was always my issue with Carl Lentz. It was man, you really want to be in the spotlight. I understand if you watch a documentary, he's I wanted to touch as many people as possible, but I think along that journey, he lost really what the reason why he started. He said he would go to clubs and pass out Bibles, but I'm bro,
that is not the
it's not the time or the place, and I get it.
Service passing out Bibles.
No, he said he would they would wrap Bibles and they'd pass them out to people that he loved, and I think he genuinely thinks that he was doing something, and maybe he did get a lot of people in. And what Hillsong, what I've seen, I've never been, but what I think they did really well is they made it a production. It was like a concert. They even said the music was really good, but
praise and worship was amazing. Yeah, and everyone was gets into it. Yeah,
right. But anytime it's New York, which is not a easy place to live financially.
Right.
And you're giving, let's just say you're a waitress and you're giving money and you're thinking this money goes to the super church and you see your pastor up there wearing a Rolex.
Yeah.
Right. You automatically think okay, that money is, and that's what was happening. They were doing a lot of, I guess, what was it? They were, what was the word when you work for free?
Like an intern?
No. What else? You were, God, why can't I think of it right now?
Working for free.
You're donating your time. You're
Volunteering.
Everybody, let's go.
Volunteering.
I need some more. I need some more. Right?
We haven't had our rain yet.
From our kitchen to yours, this episode is brought to you by Meals by Mill. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals right to your door every day. Use promo code MIX15 at checkout for 15% off your first order. Serving LA, Inland Empire, and Orange County areas. Order today.
So they had a lot of volunteers, and they were saying that they were working them 30 to 60 hours a week.
Wow.
And some people are I couldn't even really hold down my own job because I was volunteering. And then there's part of Carl Lentz's sermon where it's I want you to volunteer more. I want you to donate more.
Yeah.
And and it always rubbed me the wrong way, just because I'm nobody needs to be spending that much money on their look, and then you're supposed to be giving back to the community. So when it all happened, I was kind of see, told you. But then you hear his story, you hear how much pressure he was under. He talked about man in general. He thought once he became a pastor, those urges would go away, which they don't. He thought once he got married, those urges would go away, which they didn't. He was doing, I think he said at one time he was doing 7 services a day.
Sheesh.
7 services a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine the amount of stress. All of a sudden, he's a celebrity. You know, so I understand, not that I condone him cheating, but I understand like the amount of pressure and stuff that he was under. So yeah, I mean, the documentary itself, if you guys have not
that
seen
being
it,
under pressure means you can cheat, but
no,
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I mean, we all have our own pressures. It's how
no,
you
no.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, no, and I totally get it. And he even
you're
said
not
like,
a victim.
true, you're 100% not,
Yeah.
but it does come to light like a little bit more of the things that the church required from him.
Yeah.
And where all that money was going. And, you know, so I don't want to spoil the whole entire thing for you guys that haven't listened to or watched it, but definitely watch it. I mean, I know you went to Hillsong, so that's why I wanted to ask you. Like,
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I mean, I never watched anything, but yeah, I haven't watched it. I didn't. When you posted it, I was like, oh, I didn't even know. Again, I don't watch
Yeah.
like Netflix or anything, so I didn't even know that it was a documentary. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it was even out. So yeah, I haven't watched it, but I will.
yeah, the thing I think he opened Pandora's box, he mean Carl Lentz, is like, I feel like a lot of pastors now, they feel like they have to be like him in order to be like a successful pastor.
Yeah.
Like you have to look cool, you have to be good looking, you have to be married. And he talks about it too. He said, you've never seen a successful pastor that wasn't married with kids. So it's like part of the thing that you knew is like you had to be a pastor, you had to be married.
Yeah.
But there's,
Right.
but there's a college that they have in Australia, and everyone, their goal is to be a pastor of a mega church.
I almost went there.
Did you really?
Yeah.
The Hillsong one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole,
Did
there's a
you?
whole,
Almost went there.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
college there where you go and supposedly you have the in, and there has to be some kind of like, why do you want to be a pastor at this church so bad?
Yeah.
What perks are they getting? You know, and with Carl Lentz, he still has a beautiful house in Florida. He had a beautiful house in New York, or like apartment. His wearing
Still
the dopest fit. So you think like it's almost like a corporation where you're like, if I intern and I bust my ass, I could be CEO. And that's the way I feel like you shouldn't look at being a church. You should want to be a pastor because you want to help people, you want to change people's lives. You know, you're well spoken. You could get the message. You study the Bible enough to know where you could relay the message to people that maybe have never heard it.
Yeah.
That's what I think you should want to be a pastor for. And I feel like that college and him himself, he put this perception of
People-
like, if you ever get to my level, then you're going to
This
have.
is what you can have.
This is
too.
what you can have.
And then so people are becoming pastors for the wrong reasons, and it's the wrong people. And
now I feel like everyone's a carbon copy of him.
Yeah.
You have like pastors that are like in
Tattoos,
like
dressed all trendy.
dressed all
Yeah.
trendy, and I'm like, you never saw this before. And I don't know if I still haven't decided if it's a good or bad thing. But for the most part, I don't feel it's necessary.
No.
I don't feel like it's necessary in order to get people to listen to you. You know.
it's absolutely not. Yeah. But yeah, it just goes back to, I think we just at this point need to like separate like church and religion.
Or church shouldn't be ran as a business.
Ran as a business.
Church
Yeah.
should be
Unfortunately,
church. And it is.
But church
It
is a
is.
business, so that's
Church
the
is
thing.
a business.
Yeah.
That's
so
where-
you still need a certain amount of money to have the church.
Because how is it gonna
doors
be ran?
open. Exactly. And you know, being the leader of a church, you do need to be compensated in some way so that you can
You
be
can continue to
financially
keep-
free, so
yeah.
you can be focused on your job.
Of course.
right?
But when does that become?
But when does that stop?
When does
Yeah.
that be?
Yeah.
Is it 200,000?
When does that become designer?
Is it 300,000?
Right?
Do you
Yeah.
think they should make 400,000?
Right.
Is it half a
Yeah.
million? You know, like
And
they're-
I feel like for the people who are tithing, like majority of that money should be going to like help the community, right? Like
Yeah.
help your community, like to help other people. Like what are you doing with these resources, and other than just like buying those
Designer,
expensive
yeah.
designer
Or
clothes?
is it because we're
like
getting-
that money
yeah.
could be going towards like giving people like shelter, building shelter, going to other like countries even, and helping other people. But instead, you're just
Or
you
is
know?
it because our tithings are going up? It's kind of like an incentive. Well, if in the church, if our tithings are going up, well, as the pastor, so is my salary.
well, but that's the thing is like that's what they were saying.
and
It was
that's what they
run.
do, yeah.
It was run like a corporation, and then they had someone go up to Carl Lentz and they talked to him like, "Hey, all these people that are volunteering, like they don't even know where they're going to eat their next meal," and they're like, "Oh, well, you know, we're not allowed to give money to volunteers." Well, wouldn't you put them like at least on a minimum wage salary, like all the amount
because
of money?
these people are dedicating a lot of time.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't like they were just like there greeting, handing out pamphlets. Like they were moving the big speakers, and they
Yeah.
were spending a lot of
Yeah.
time there.
Set up
So
and tear down crew.
But those
Yeah,
are also
yeah.
the people that crave community. They don't have that anywhere else. So,
this is
their
this is their
volunteer, They're trying to find family. They're
That's
trying to
yep.
find a safe space. So for them, I'll put in the hours because at the end of the day, these people got me.
Yeah,
they have my back.
And then come to find out, they don't have your back
Yeah.
when things go wrong,
Yep.
or when you when you know make these mistakes, they're not there for you. They're pushing you away.
It's a business if you push away from someone, if it affects their bottom line.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's exactly what they did. It wasn't a church, it was a community more. It affected his bottom line. They needed a scapegoat. They needed to like disconnect themselves from Carl Lentz, and they kind of threw him to the wolves, and they released audio of conversations they had. They released it to people when the family asked them not to. But it was a great, even if you're not into church, it was just a great documentary.
I gotta check it out. Now I want to check it out just because I'm curious.
I definitely don't think it should discourage anyone from going to church, because
absolutely not. They're not all churches are.
No, not all churches are like that, but also like it depends how, like you said, you have to be able to separate it, right? Like I do love community. I would love to raise my daughter in a church. I would love for her to go. I would love for her to understand, God at a deeper relationship, and again, I'm kind of like not jaded, but I've had some bad experiences myself, but I do think it's important. But at the same time, I'm not like, oh, go ahead and sleep over at a pastor's house, babe. Like, to my daughter.
Everything's great.
Everything's great. Or I'm not
absolutely
like, I'm going to give them $10,000 because God blessed me. Like, I understand there's still limits. So I think for those that are going in blindly, like, oh, whatever the pastor says or whatever church,
I still question the person in charge.
Of course.
The person in charge should not have the say all and all.
Because the message is getting relayed from man.
Yes.
So again, we sin every day.
with questions and have those debates, like, is this right? Is this wrong? Why is it right? Like
some churches are even ran like cults too, and they're not. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's
it's a very touchy subject.
It's very touchy, but I think this is going to open up. I think there's going to be more mega churches that we find out
more things about.
Yeah, I mean the Joel Osteen, like I know he has mega churches. I know his church was one of the ones that people went to for shelter. And he locked the doors on them when it was a hurricane, or what was it?
It was a hurricane.
It was a hurricane, and he has this
Katrina or
no, was it
not Katrina?
Katrina. It was a huge hurricane. It was a natural disaster, but he had this huge church
and he closed
in Texas.
The doors on
he locked the doors so no one could come in. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know," but they're like, "No, you knew." So he did it because he didn't want to house all these people and do stuff. But I'm like, bro, you're flying.
That's what
in
you
private.
like. Are
Hurricane
you kidding
Harvey.
me?
Hurricane Harvey, yeah. And I remember that was the first little bit.
And it's kind of like, I feel like a decent human being is like, we'll figure out how to financially make this possible. But if somebody needs shelter,
like, let's all come in
we're
here.
gonna figure it out, right?
I
Like,
mean, you trying to tell me you make that much money, you couldn't?
Do you also
keep the doors open to give shelter to people who are there supporting you? Like,
if you're really about
on
the community,
that private jet because of these people. Like, what?
Do you also hear about the 500 envelopes full of cash that a plumber found inside the walls of his church?
Of whose church?
Joel Osteen's.
Did they?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
500 envelopes.
They found 500 envelopes full of cash during while they were plumbing.
That's probably why he didn't want anyone in there. He's like, I'm stashing money in there. Like, I don't know.
Stashing money in the church walls.
What I think should happen, the same thing with government, is every Sunday there should be either something up where people can see where their tithing's going. Last Sunday we got in $100,000 in tithing. That's a lot of money, right? 20 of that went to the pastor for his family. 10 of that is going to a reserve in case there's something that we want to do. And then, just kind of like how I do with my accountant. Like, this is what it is.
This is going to, like, this community. This is going to build
this.
shelter.
Yeah, this is going towards something we're doing. This is going to our youth program that we want to expand. And you as an individual of the church could be like, I agree with that. I don't agree with that. But at least you know
where your money is going.
Where your money is going. I think the problem a lot of people have with tithing is nobody knows where that money's going. And again, it's not a corporation, so they don't have to disclose anything to you. They don't have to. But I feel like for total transparency, what would make me...
A red flag would be if they aren't telling you where your money is going, especially in the beginning of service before they're asking you for your tithe. That's
but
a red
even
flag
nonprofit,
too.
you can take this away from church, and now nonprofits are doing the same exact thing.
You're right.
Thinking that you're donating towards this specific thing when really it's 3%.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I had to deal with that opening up my nonprofit because you hear so many different things and you're like, shit, this company is nationally known. They're getting billions of dollars and only about 3%.
They only have to give 3%.
3% of what they say that they're raising money for is actually going towards that.
And they pocket all the rest.
Yeah, or they use it for other avenues.
Stuff. That's how they're getting paid and all that stuff.
But that's like, so it's not just a church, it's nonprofits. It's people thinking because they have a good heart that my money is going here, but they're blindly giving their money. because somebody says
They're forgetting these things are ran as a business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like that would be something that I would be like, oh, you know what? I don't mind that you're getting paid $20K. You're running this church with a bunch of servers.
Right.
Like, I honestly wouldn't mind, but I feel like $20K is a low number. I feel like those guys are making way more.
Oh yeah,
I feel like they're
You
making
can't
way
live off
more.
of $20K.
Yeah.
We've had this
They are
discussion.
making-
like
they
you're
are-
at least
they-
making
yeah.
$100K, I would say.
No, I
You
think
know.
more.
For sure.
More.
I think
yeah,
more
yeah,
too.
yeah. These
Yeah.
mega churches. What was there was one that let's not say church's name, but there's one we went to local that you had went to, and I was like, just me. I always do that. I look at abandoned buildings. I look
Yep.
at like, man, okay, all these people are in
There's
here.
so
If
much money in this place.
If every
Yep.
person just gave $5, that front row would be, and that's untaxed.
You watch all the cars they're driving
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
For
Yep.
sure.
So I mean, again, I don't want to turn this away, like, again, for like religious purposes, like, oh, don't go, church is corrupt, because I think
There are great churches
There are
out
great
there.
churches. Remember, you're getting the message from man, and man is, we all sin, we all do those things that we shouldn't. We all have those thoughts, but it's the message that you should be going to church for.
Absolutely.
And whether it's you do your time to do Bible study and really understand it, and then when it's told to you, you can kind of dissect a little better.
And it's important for you to do your own, like,
Yeah,
you got to
own
read your
research,
Bible
yeah.
yourself. You have to know your Bible yourself too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
You can't
don't go into it thinking like, okay, this pastor is the second coming of God kind of thing. Understand that they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
They probably
They're
pray.
human.
They're human. They pray about it. But yeah, that's just my only gripe, I guess, with mega churches. If we knew where this money was going to,
Yeah.
if we knew what their salaries were, if I knew what that, I wouldn't have an issue. Like, I'd be super interested to see what Joel Osteen's like income is. But I guarantee, like, having businesses, you could be like, oh, I pay myself.
As that big of a, he's
I pay myself.
getting
Yeah.
different streams of
Yeah,
income at
yeah.
this point.
Yeah, so it's on Hulu, you guys. If you guys want to see it, I highly suggest.
Oh, it's on
you see it.
Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
I'll give you
I'm gonna watch
I'll
it.
give you my Hulu password if you want.
I have.
She's like, I can afford my own.
I have my own password.
Another thing is we have probably one of the biggest Dodger fans here in Marissa. Yes. Yeah, you're a huge
How
Dodger
do you
fan.
feel about what's going on with the Dodgers right now?
Oh my God, I
all the
just feel
controversy
like-
going.
Well, explain first what's going on with the Dodgers.
Well, so much is going on. I mean, I would just say, 30-second recap is Dodgers Pride Month is now turning into, well, I mean, you had it on your Insta, the
So basically, the group of, like, we can say drag queens
Drag
or
queen, uh-huh.
dressed as nuns, correct?
So they were mocking.
Yeah, it's like
They were mocking nuns.
Why are we having to allow everybody, like, when was it okay to start bashing a religion to make yourself or your beliefs known?
Right.
Is how I feel.
So
right?
is this group, are they have they came out and they're
They're trying to say
anti-religion?
they're not. They just are doing this for fun and blah blah blah. It's like playful, but it's like no. Like if just to say, like, if you're to mock race, right? Like or culture, let's say race, culture, or even like Muslim, like religion, like it would be the end of the
Yes,
world.
for sure.
Literally.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did see it. And that's the thing is, like, I try to, like, keep an open mind when I see things, because sometimes they're like a 15-second clip.
Yeah.
But I did see something, and I don't know if it's this organization, but there was like a cross, and there was a guy
I
on
saw
it,
that too.
and there was drag
And
queens.
how it's just like, how is it
pole
okay to
stripping.
keep
Yeah.
mocking
And
like
how-
like
Like,
Catholic or Christian religion?
It is-
Like
yeah.
it's not okay.
No.
like, I don't know if that was them, but they, on the Instagram.
Or
thing,
it
that
said
was
no,
them.
no,
It was
something
them.
like Dodgers didn't let the nuns come, but they
Well,
let
no. So
the
first
other-
they uninvited them,
Okay.
and then they re-invited them,
Yep.
and issued an apology to them
Wow.
Yeah.
for uninviting them.
And then a week later, now there's Christian worship night
Mm-hmm.
at Dodger Stadium, where I think it goes back to
You're caring about offending them, but you're not caring about offending like the religion that they're mocking.
yes,
Wow. So they come, and when they dress in drag, and again, I don't know, they dress in drag, they dress as
Like
nuns?
nuns.
nuns.
Oh, yeah. That's not.
But
yeah.
like raging, like
Over the
just
top.
over the top.
Yeah.
It's very inappropriate and
Yeah.
it's very offensive.
But under
And
the, guise of satire.
Oh. So they're using that to kind of mask what they're.
Yes.
Yeah. But to your point, it's like if you came and you had like blackface on, you're like, oh, it's just satire, like it's a joke. Nowadays, you'd be
canceled.
You'd be
End of the world,
canceled.
Like,
Right.
you would be,
So-
like it would. You would get sued at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I get what you're
Or
saying.
making fun of culture. You can't for Halloween. They don't want people to dress as like natives or because that's disrespectful.
Yeah. Definitely.
So like, how is it okay that
To
this
disrespect
group?
a religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, I know we kind of talked about it off air, but I know like Pride Night isn't anything new. It's
It's not the point of having Pride. Like Pride Night has been going on for years and years and
Which
years.
is great.
It's not about that, but it's about the group that you have representing it, right?
Yeah.
Or I think every year it's trying to be more extreme or like push the envelope a little bit more to see, and also it's like desensitized.
Desensitized.
Yeah, so then we just think this is normal, but it's,
And it's not.
It's not normal.
It's
It's not
absolutely-
okay
nope.
to bash anyone or anything because you don't believe in it. You
Yeah.
know, so it just. And then it's a trickling effect. Like now people are bringing their 7-year-olds to these things, and oh well, that's funny, mom. Like. No, or
Yeah.
you're seeing like you know like people shaking their ass in front of a 7-year-old.
Like,
which was
how is
another
that
one.
okay?
Yeah,
or you have these 7-year-olds that are dressed in drag, and then you have these grown men cheering them on.
That's actually really big, and I seen that. It's a 7-year-old boy,
Yes.
and he dressed like drag, and he's twerking on the floor,
And
like
then you
all
have,
sexually, and
you
then
have
there's all these
grown
men.
ass men just cheering him on, and it's so disturbing to watch. Like
Very.
it
Yep,
just
that was very
I
disturbing to
don't have
watch.
children, but like if I did, whoa, like
You're
it's just
taking a
I'm scared.
child's
Yep.
innocence away.
They're so innocent; they have
Right
no
there.
idea.
Like I didn't really know about that stuff until way later, you know. So it's like, but it wasn't in your face. I mean, it kind of goes back to I know like you and Ethan had like a whole episode like on the whole situation that's going on Target, and you know I have no issue with them like having like rainbow shirts or pride shirts or whatever.
That's not the
that wasn't the problem.
No.
The problem for me that I had with the whole entire thing was the person that is designing this stuff is openly satanic, right? He's satanic,
And a lot of his artwork, he's like bashing people like who are against it, like and saying very, very vulgar things. Like a lot of his like pins are talking about like I don't know. He has one that's basically like. It's just bad. It's bad. It's bad. And again, it's not like they have that stuff in Target. It's the artist that they used for that.
Yeah,
because it's funding his
nothing
project.
to do with like the price. It's nothing to do with that. It just has to do with like I feel like it's deeper. Or even seeing. I'm sorry, but there was like children's clothes and it had like silhouettes of like naked women and naked men on children's clothes though. Come on, like that's so unnecessary. That was like I feel like that was very inappropriate. Like a little onesie or little kid shirts and it has like little silhouettes of like naked women and naked men on the
really
on the
see I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I see on Instagram that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take that for face value, like that's on there, and so I do my own research on it. So when they told me, oh yeah, there's like a satanic guy that's collabing with Target, I was like, okay, he said something like I don't believe, maybe he's atheist, and then I went on and I did research. I'm like, holy shit, no, this guy
is crazy,
is really and that's where I kind of for myself, and this is for me where I kind of draw the line, like, okay, I can't support that.
No,
you know, same thing
absolutely not.
Same thing with Dodgers, but I know I'm not as big a Dodger fan as you. Like how do you feel
I mean,
like
it was
that?
like one of the. It's just like. Let sports be sports, right? People of all walks of life go to a game to unwind from their everyday stressors. They pay so much money to maybe save just to be able to go to that game with their family.
Like, let sports be sports.
Let sports be sports and let people enjoy their time and not having a political agenda behind it.
Absolutely.
You know, so I just feel like, but that's the day and age we live with because these things are getting funded by certain people in power. So you're trying to
at the end of the day have no say so because of the money and all of these
and
things.
So you're trying to say you're trying to conform to this group because you know you want your ratings or you want your fans to stay true to you, but then as you do that, now you're getting backlash from another group of people. So it's just like let sports be sports. Stop trying to please everybody because no matter who you are, big or small, you're never going to.
Yeah.
So like with this Pride Night, like and what are they called? What is the group called or the name? Do we know?
I don't even know.
So
Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all that. So the sisters, okay, do they like give them special seats? Like how does it work at Pride Night? Do they just get like regular general admission tickets? Like are they like
performing?
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know.
Is it like a parade before a game?
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking. Is it, Ethan? Look it up.
It's
like what are they doing? And that's the thing. It becomes an issue. So like if they're like throwing out the first pitch, or if they're doing something that's showcasing like the anti-Christianity, then I would have an issue. But if they're like, yeah, we invited them, we gave them seats, they're going to be like behind the dugout, like.
Yeah, I think
like,
it's a little more than that.
Like,
It's more
like,
than
I don't have an issue
I
with that.
believe it's more than that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know
because
enough.
everybody from every walk of life, every faith. I know Muslims, I know Buddhists, I know Christians, Catholics, atheists that love the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And everyone can go to a Dodger game if you're a Dodger fan and be cohesive with each other, right? Like, but it's like,
why are we like putting this like segregation?
Yeah, it's just why
yeah, that's
do
what
it?
that's what I'm interested to find. I'm interested to see like what part they're actually playing in this pride thing. Like, are they just being
It's a
invited?
parade that they're hosting.
Oh,
I believe
it's a
so. Yeah,
parade?
they have them like there, like putting on like I'm assuming a show.
Yeah,
like,
probably I'm guessing in the parking lot of Dodger Stadium.
probably
Oh, God, okay.
something. Regardless, yeah, it's
They're
just,
getting some kind of attention and media outlet to showcase whatever they
Especially
believe.
now, they're gonna even
Especially
be
now.
like, I never even heard.
Yeah,
I never knew existed. So
Yeah.
if you got tickets to that game, you wouldn't go.
For
Oh.
no, I mean no. So it's not like it's like
Like if they gave you like, hey, you're gonna have home run seats, like you're gonna be right
no,
behind.
because I can purchase those tickets myself.
So you wouldn't go?
Probably not.
if they were there.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. To the pride, the event that they're going to be at. If they're
Again,
like,
it's not even about
It's
the
not about
pride.
the
no,
pride
but
event.
it's
But
the
totally
pride,
go for
yeah,
pride.
it's a pride
Yes.
event they're going to be at. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
like
no,
not.
I wouldn't support them.
Yeah, I wouldn't support
No.
them.
Do you think this this will affect the Dodgers negatively moving forward?
I
or-
think it will for a month.
Just
and then
for
it's
not
gonna
for very long,
be
because people at
swept
the end
under
of the day, they're
rug.
still Dodger
Yeah.
fans. You know?
I mean,
Yeah,
I know
for
Kershaw did come and kind of speak. I mean, kind of spoke out against it, saying he
Yeah.
I
supports
just
the.
think that just the way that everything is going right now in this world is just like they're trying to normalize like so many. Like, I saw a video, by the way, on online, and it was this man, and he was in CVS, and they literally have all these sex toys, dildos, like all this crazy stuff right next to the kids' toys.
Stop it.
So kids' toys are here where
CVS?
kids go
No.
at CVS. Yes, there's I'll put it's literally a video, and it's like on the shelves, and it's like the secret, and it's on the shelves. There's like dildos. There's even like men like ones for like it says like booty like something or tush something.
What?
They're all these like sex toys right in the aisle of like children's toys.
I feel like I go to CVS. I feel like I haven't seen that.
Where this specific CVS it was.
Probably San Francisco.
Probably.
And
That sounds
the
about
man
right,
literally
yeah.
like was like recording the whole like it's a whole
That is-
aisle
if that's true-
of the children
Yeah.
toys.
If that's true,
And
that's
then
insane.
It's crazy.
Because you know what's funny is I remember like back in the day when there was movie stores, video stores, like all the porn and stuff would be in the back.
Yeah,
with the
like
Yeah.
go
beads.
behind a black curtain.
And you'd be like, I
Yeah.
remember I'd be walking through and like you could just see the cracks. You're like,
Little Jason,
oh
like,
yeah, like what is
Yeah.
that? You know, but that
Yeah.
was like sectioned off. So the
Yeah.
fact that it's like
It was out in the open,
so
yep, KY
open now,
jelly, everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like I wouldn't mind. Like that's the thing is like for me, it's like KY jelly. My daughter's never gonna be like, what is that? Like she
Right.
don't care. She thinks it's a lotion. But if
But
there's
you
like
literally have the
dildos, if there's
like,
stuff like
I'm
that,
not
then that
even kidding you. Yeah,
that does
it's
make
crazy.
a difference to me. Because it's crazy how much my daughter at 3 absorbs and regurgitates out when she
course.
sees stuff.
Children are
So,
sponges.
very much so. So it's even like what the heck? Like there was even like a couple cartoons she was watching. I'm like, this is not appropriate.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
you should not be. It was Barbies, but it was a Ken and a Barbie one. Like adults playing with
Yeah.
them, and they were like, oh, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. They're kissing, and then I see her like covering her eyes, like giggling, and I'm like, what are you watching?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what they're, so it doesn't matter. Like it was heterosexual. I don't really care. But
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
she doesn't need to know that.
They're so innocent. Why do
Yeah.
they need to watch that?
So did you find out what role they're playing in there, Ethan?
It looks like it's just part of the parade.
Oh, so
Yeah,
there is a
see,
praise.
yeah.
Not
So
an
it's a
actual
parade before
performance.
the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
I'm interested to see how that does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know they said Target lost like 10
billion.
10
$10
billion.
billion.
Yep. Do you think that affects them at all? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much.
I mean, it affected them enough to
10
pull
billion
it.
is still gonna
10
like
billion,
it's
yeah.
It affected
still
them
10
enough to
billion.
pull everything and completely cut themselves.
Oh, so they pulled everything?
They pulled everything and cut ties with the designer entirely.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And the designer is actually accusing them of, what did he say?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
The saga continues.
Rainbow capitalism.
Oh, fuck.
What it like?
Did he make that up?
I think he might have.
Yeah, rainbow capitalism.
Rainbow
Like,
capitalism.
I can't even keep up with like terminology these days either.
No.
Yeah, there is a little.
Can you give us the definition of what rainbow capitalism means?
Oh, good thing we got Ethan here
I know.
on the,
Ethan
on the
is like
laptop.
clutch right now.
Yes.
He's like, I got to do research on this thing now.
Google where you
We
at.
got you like, what's his name on Rogan? How he's
that's
always
what-
looking up.
yeah. Yeah, and you know,
It's the involvement of capitalism and consumerism in the LGBT movement. Pretty much, like, I mean, like we were talking about the last episode. Do big corporations like that actually care about Pride
No,
Month, or
it's
are they
just
just
they're
capitalizing on the fact that people are going to be celebrating it and buying more merch during
Well,
that
That's
time of the month?
exactly what
That's
they're doing.
exactly what it is.
yeah. And we're like the little minions that are like left to fight about it and really care about it, and they're like, okay, on to the next. What's next thing you know?
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
gonna be
God bless America next month. Yeah.
There'll be 4th of July stuff,
And
then-
again, but that's the thing is it has nothing to do with pride. It has nothing to do. There's no problem with like Pride Night
No.
or Pride like merch. Nothing like that. It's just the things that are like behind
It's like
it.
to glorify one by bashing another is what the problem
yes,
is.
exactly.
That's the black and white. I like.
damn, wonder what that
You want
comes-
respect, you got to give it, right?
Exactly.
Like-
yes. You're demanding respect for your equality, for your way of living, your beliefs. Then
Yeah.
you have to give that to other people.
100%. You want to be accepted. Like, how are you going to? It's just mind blowing.
So do they have a like a mission statement? The sisters, do they have something?
They came out and said something like it was.
I would like to
they're
know
for
what it is.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, but then I also
Ethan,
heard
pull it up.
like it was also in the news because they're like, oh well, Dodgers uninvited them, and then Angels picked them up like the following. day
Yeah,
or two.
but the Angels are
And
like
then
the
so,
Clippers. Like, no one really
you know,
No one
cares.
cares.
Yeah,
so it's like,
Their mission statement is to promulgate, I don't know how to say that word, to promulgate universal joy and expiate stigmatic guilt.
So what was their statement that came out? No, can you get what was their statement that came out when with all this controversy with the Dodgers? Like they had a statement.
Yeah, because it's. I don't even understand what that even means. Yeah. Just say you're a group of
Yeah,
dudes.
just go ahead,
I'm
like-
that just want to like dress drag. I don't know. I mean, and again,
Which again, there's nothing
there's no-
wrong
yeah.
with that, but it's when you're trying to bring down like you're
Yeah.
literally
No, yeah,
mocking
You're mocking a religion.
a religion.
And even I think the biggest one where we also saw another group was there was a man looking like Jesus on the cross.
That
and then
was
there is
crazy.
somebody literally giving Jesus a lap dance.
And that's
what
what's
day and
like-
age is that okay?
And I think that's what's so disturbing to me too, because like if you go to Pride, like which I've been in
Yeah.
LA, you know, with plenty of my friends, and it's always such a great time, and that's great, and it's a beautiful thing. Everyone's coming together,
Yeah.
like respecting everyone. That's great. But then when you start seeing things like that, like you're mocking Jesus, Jesus walking on a cross, like giving lap dances, the nuns, all of those things, it is so disturbing and it's so disrespectful because it's like you want respect,
Yeah.
why not give it?
And nuns who choose to be a nun,
Yeah.
that is their way of life. They have such a pure heart that they're doing what they can for their religion. Like, why are you
And I do
mocking
also
that?
get a lot of the people in the community, in the like community, they don't feel accepted because maybe they do want to go to church and they do want to believe in God, but a
Yes.
lot of churches don't accept them.
Yes.
And so what does that do to them, and how does that make them feel? So I do understand, like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that you have to like mock. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you have to be so hateful and so
For sure.
ugly towards that because of that's
yeah,
the feeling.
and, I mean, and not to like justify any of it, but I do not understand, but you got to understand, like when there's a group of people that are always put down or always kind of
Yeah,
like on the
of
outside,
course, they're gonna have a lot of
they're
hate
gonna
and a
have
lot of anger.
and I think
I get it.
that's where it's coming from. I think
Yeah,
it's like,
it
oh
is.
well, the Christianity, Catholic,
Yeah,
you know,
they didn't accept me.
they didn't accept me.
It's
So
true, and a lot
so-
of Christians and a lot of they don't, and they do make them feel like
so
wrong.
it's
You know,
it's
they
not
do
like,
make them feel
it's
bad
not
for,
like
for who they are. That's very true.
Yeah, so it's not like they like out of nowhere said, oh, let's make fun of Christianity or let's
Yeah.
make fun of God. They're doing it because they
was a
felt
gradual
jaded, because they
buildup.
felt jaded by the religion. And again, the
Right.
religion just say, marriage should be between a man and a woman, which you decide
Believe whatever you want,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
again, it still
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can.
No,
and,
no,
and
yeah.
I think that it's wrong to accept that that's
Right. Mm-hmm.
okay for them too, because like I said, if you were walking around with blackface, if you're making fun of another culture, end of the world, you're canceled.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, no, but I think it's always good for us to understand all sides, right? Like even
Right,
if I don't
absolutely.
even if I don't agree with it,
Yeah.
which I don't, I do understand where maybe that hate comes from,
That's
and
why I said
why
that.
they're so adamant on like,
Of course.
we're gonna stick to this, we're gonna do this,
Of course.
because they probably have been tormented their whole entire, and that's why I understand like a lot of that's why I understand a lot of the movement. I
Yeah.
really do. I really try
Yeah.
to like put myself in their position of like, man, if I went through high school and everybody was, I don't know, did they still use the word straight? Like everyone liked women, and and I'm in the locker room,
And
and
they're
these guys are
making me
making me feel
yeah.
uncomfortable. Now there's a space for me, and
Yes.
now I want everyone else, which I understand it and I get it, but at the same time, it's like even me, which I don't know how true it is that they're allowing like drags in school, or they're talking about that. Like that's where it kind of.
I think the problem is that the gay community, they have fought so hard to have this respect, and then you do have these group of people who are coming in, and it is ruining it for them, and a lot of them don't agree with this move. You know what I'm saying?
I did see that.
And again, I think it's just important to just be like, just as human beings, and be compassionate and understand that. And it is they're like, there is a problem with society as well too. So yeah, exactly. I that's why I said, like, I do get where their anger comes from and where it stems from. It still doesn't mean that it's right.
No, especially for me, we are able to raise, our kids or our family or however we want to, or have our own beliefs. But I don't think it should be put in my daughter's face, in my face,
exactly.
or whatever.
And
so
let's keep it away from the children.
Yeah. Like if I'm a paying customer and I want to go to that show, to what you said, I want to go to the sister show, I'm going to go, I'm going to pay money, I'm going to get tickets from them, I'm going to go, I'm going to enjoy it.
Right.
But if I'm getting tickets to a Dodger game and I happen to find my tickets on Pride Night where these people are doing a parade, then it's kind of like, okay. But at the same time, if you don't like it, don't go to the parade, don't support the Dodgers. And that's what people don't do enough of. Like if it's really that bad to you, like people are like, oh, well, forget about Target. Well, you're still shopping there.
Yeah.
So your voice isn't really doing anything. It has to be some action with it. So if, I know for me, I was like, damn.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, and it's true though. Like, and what is my little $100 that I spent at Target going to do? But apparently, a lot of people,
all the stay-at-home moms were like, well, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And we lose 10
Where do you
billion
think they're?
in a
And I think regardless of how big your business is, 10 billion is a lot of money.
10 billion is
because it was even like I had to pick something up, and I always go to Target. It's like literally by my house, and I was like,
open, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna go. No, I didn't go. I went to Walmart. I went to Walmart and I got some things, but now that I know that they, I feel like
that they pulled
it. The voice was heard. They picked whatever side they're on. Now it's like, okay,
and you can respect.
Then
that.
I can respect that. I
You're
can
on the
respect
side of
that.
money.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like,
You're on
we
the side
don't
of
need to
money.
cancel Target as a whole. It's just kind of like, because Target does.
I hate cancel culture. I hate cancel culture, first of all.
Target does provide families, like, a lot of families rely on Target for their paychecks, so we're not going to cancel Target, but it's like we said, think about whoever's in charge. Can you guys think a little bit more before green lighting something?
No, but I did see some videos of, like, people going into Target, like, talking bad to the employees. I'm like, come on,
Yeah,
bro.
it's not the employee's fault.
And that's where people just get too, like, come on.
Like,
it's not the employee's fault. This is their job.
Yeah.
They're just working. They
open
just
a
work
box
here.
and they're
They just
taking
get a
out, and
paycheck.
they're
They don't give a
I saw videos of like guys
doing
going
what they're
around
supposed
like
to. They got
tearing
paid
the
for what
signs down.
merchandise is supposed to look like. They did the merchandising, whatever. This is what's going on. It's not. They didn't shoot. Like, that's not paid. They want that to happen.
Your Target employees
people are so
had
ridiculous.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I apologize to every Target
People
employee
are
that
so
had to go through that.
extreme too. Like,
because I worked retail, and you get no say in anything. You open a box, and
you
whattever's in that box,
This is
you
your
got to put
this
it
is
out.
what merchandising looks like. Like, nope.
Yeah.
So, well,
We'll find out soon enough,
We will,
right?
for
What it is,
sure.
but I mean, I think it's good to have a discussion. I think it's good to have a point of view on it, whether it's you agree with it or you don't.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong. Even if there was someone here that was like, no, I think they should be there. Definitely let me hear you out. And I think a lot of the anger comes from what we talked about. We talked about in the beginning, religion and them not feeling included. And the thing with life is you're not going to be included in everything.
You're not meant for every circle.
You're not meant for everything. So them that they found their voice and they have their community. But like what you said, I have seen a lot of people that were like the pioneers of this movement.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't even agree
with
that. You're ruining it for the rest of us. So
who fought so hard to just be accepted?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because I mean, Pride Day is big in general.
Huge.
LA,
It's great.
everything.
And I think that's why I said, and it can be a great thing, but people are turning it into something so ugly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Yeah, no, there's so much more we can go in depth with that. But I mean, I'm gonna leave that at that. I think I'll go to the game and kind of see how it is. No, I'm just kidding.
For research purposes.
Yeah, for research purposes.
Yeah.
But I mean, another awesome guest that we had come in earlier this week was Andrea, and she had a dope story about how she was an immigrant, how she came over and got her citizenship. And I know that's like another I don't want to say hot take, but I mean, yeah, it is a hot take now that they're opening the floodgates, kind of, so to speak, right, for immigrants just to come in. I mean, hearing her, I'm on one side of it where I do see the negative in it, but again, my family came here, even though they did get their citizenship, and then
immigrants.
And then you see her and her family. They came here as immigrants, and her dad had his own business, and your dad had has his own business.
And there's people here who are Americans, and they would never.
Yeah.
Because
So
at the end of the day, they're lazy.
So I think that was a good one for me to open my eyes, because I didn't know that if you're an immigrant, you pay more. I always thought like if you're an immigrant, you didn't.
I think because like what they are like, oh, immigrants don't pay taxes, and so that's just what we hear all the time. And then hearing it from a business owner who actually lived it, you're just like, oh wow. Okay.
She was saying like, with the fear of like, she came to this country when she was 2 months old. So imagine her getting pulled over, and then she's like, oh, you're going back home. She's like, that's not even my home.
Yeah, that's not my home.
So some of those are like really strange for me to comprehend, because I'm like, if you've been here since you were a baby, like you're an American citizen. Granted, if that's what everyone did, then, who knows where the state of this country would be.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen from like California, from what I've seen, what I watch on the news, however you want to take that, what they're showing like in Texas borders, it's kind of crazy to see. I don't know what the solution is, if it's like a easier way to get citizenship. I don't know if that's even possible, but a lot of that stuff that you see is it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, you got to understand like how much crime there is already, how much homelessness, how much homelessness
there's a lot of crime at the border itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so for her,
another topic.
Yeah, so for her kind of speaking on that, I kind of thought of like our street vendors. I kind of thought of stuff like that. I try to buy as much as I can from street vendors, and then you see like people bullying them or people destroying their stuff, and it's like, oh, they don't pay taxes, but then you come to find out like you can actually register your cart with the city. I don't know.
But there's Americans who don't pay taxes.
True.
Let's we can put that out. There's some people that that are American, they're a citizen, and they find a way not to pay taxes. So there's no.
Again, it just goes back to you're not going to make everybody happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did see something where a guy had like a taco truck set up, and it was in the same shopping center as a guy that had a taco shop. And that taco shop guy came out, and he was mad, and I think he said some shit to them, and so it was all big on IG. And I'm kind of like, man, but I understand where that guy's coming from, because he has a lease, he has a brick and mortar. Like imagine if someone
has this constant overhead.
He has this constant, like you can't compete. Like I can't drop the price of my tacos because you could just set up and leave whenever you want. Like electricity, like you got to pay. And trust me, I deal with the landlord. We deal with 2 landlords for our boat gyms, and they are not the most understanding people at all. Like it's crazy, like how I'm still getting affected with stuff from COVID that I have to pay back, and I'm thinking like, I was paying my rent. Like you would think it would be something that but they want their money. So I can understand the frustration of that.
Both sides.
Yeah, I can understand both sides. But then you have like that cancel culture where people are like, oh, and the guy's Hispanic, by the way. Like, oh, you don't support street vendors, and the guy's like, no, it's not even that.
It's not about
It's like you as a business, you cannot compete with someone that has like almost no overhead.
You can't at all.
Like there's no way you can do it. Like you don't have a lease, you don't have insurance, you don't have electricity, you have employees. It's literally you and your family that's set up. So even there, I'm kind of like on both sides of that. Like
I get it.
But that street vendor's dream could be to one day open up his own shop. Like so it's like maybe it's where did they start, and then are they working on a way to become more legit in the process? But I also think staking out in front of another taco shop,
it's just disrespectful in general. You can take shops
maybe like a block away.
Yeah, out of respect as a business owner.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I wish there was like some way that they could just all set up like in a like a street fair, but it's like a constant, like you pay whatever taxes you pay, and you have your little street vendor there, and you walk in, and all the street venders are there, like all the taco. But is that like an overkill of like taco places?
Yeah, because it's like where do you choose? Who do you go? I think the point of it is having them in your community.
Right there in your back door. Yeah, I mean, I still buy from them. So I still buy from them, and
I can't, but
you can't, because they don't. Yeah, they don't have very many vegan options.
There's no vegan options for you.
But it's crazy because like on Indian Hill, off the 10.
Oh yeah.
That's where I go. But then the person I buy from, right across the street is a taco place, and I've never thought twice about going to the other taco place, just because it's just too easy to pull in there and grab them. They don't have. So I'm always kind of like, I feel for the business owner, because we own a business and we pay crazy. You pay taxes to the city.
Yeah.
They'll fine you for the stupidest thing. You pay state taxes. You pay all this stuff, and at the end, it's like, man, imagine if someone had a gym on wheels, and they open right in front of the, let's just say.
Jason will be out there, get the
You're going to see me getting canceled. Local gym owner, body slam.
They're staked out by the huge West Covina sign.
Oh, man.
Someone's selling meal preps and juices right outside.
Bro, don't get that idea. I'll call the city on you so fast.
Jason will come after you.
Yeah, you know, because it's like that's your American dream.
Yeah, I get
Right,
it.
and again, I understand what you're saying. Their American dream is maybe they want to open up, but I think a lot of people that have a taco shop, they're not trying to get a brick and mortar.
No?
I don't think so. I think they make way too much money. Like even think of the people that do like the hot dogs outside of like not Staples Center, Crypto. You know,
That's
like
their money
they're
right
not,
there.
They're not thinking I'm going to open up the best LA taco street dog.
Yeah, that's true.
Because then people are, that's not convenient anymore. Then people aren't going to go out of the way to go buy a street. Like, you know what I mean? The point of it is to get
being
it right on the
there.
street.
Yeah. So like I don't think they're opening that. And then there's a whole rabbit hole where I hear there's like one business controlling all those taco street vendors. Or I've heard
and then
all
they
kinds
got
of
to pay their due. Like there's all
it's
kinds
like drugs.
of stuff.
Like you got to pay your dues to whatever
dues
corner.
And that's what they say about some homeless people to like different areas that we had in like when you're living on certain streets, like you can't just like like if you're homeless, like you can't just like choose to like live here.
I believe that.
You have to like they even have to pay dues.
Yeah,
tax,
they have like their own. They have like their own mayor, and they have like a.
You can't just like if I'm like, okay, I just want to make my home here. Like you can't do that.
Oh, I definitely believe that because I mean we're naturally territorial.
Everything's
so
a business.
Exactly, that's the business. Maybe it's canned food.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to bring value to this street?
It's crazy.
I mean, I don't think it's operated that
Not
strictly.
like
I don't think
I saw someone give you $5, give you $2.50.
I'm like, do you have cigarettes today? Do you have like?
I don't think that there's like an interview process where they're like, so you lived on Indian Hill. Okay, yeah, cool. Who do you know is your referral? But I do think just like
there's more to it,
Just like any time in civilization, there's always a leader.
Yeah.
There's always someone
Absolutely.
in power. There's like the biggest, strongest guy, and that kind of goes back to like
everywhere. Yeah.
Anything. So I really think like, I mean, we went to Skid Row, 3 years ago. And we
was it right before?
It was right before COVID. It was 2019, and we did this huge food drive, clothing drive.
Yeah.
And it was the most eye-opening thing I've ever seen in my life because the homeless, they literally ran the streets. Like it wasn't like, running the streets meaning like they were everywhere. It means there was like order there. There was order, but you had to abide by what they said.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck? Cops would roll by and they would not even stop.
Yep.
And so like we were like handing out clothes. Not to say this is everywhere. We did this. God, I forgot the park we did it at. And maybe I don't advise anyone to do it at a park. No. Do it like with the actual organization.
Yeah.
But we were like, Captain Save Everybody. Yeah. So we went out there with clothes.
We went in it kind of blindly. Like we were like, oh, we have the resources to
let's just do it. But forgetting that there should actually be strategy for sure. Because that's actually dangerous.
They were like, well, we don't want these clothes. What else do you got? I'm like, what? And then we had food there, and the guy that was organized is like, hey, make sure no guys come on this side because this is where the women and children eat first. And I'm like, okay, so do I stop people? He's like, yeah, you're a big dude. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to scrap with a homeless dude over some chicken.
Just to bring food and now there's a whole like thing. It's
and sure enough, like they open the doors. I'm like, oh no, you get your clothes and you get your food left. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna go get my food I'm gonna do whatever I want. Then there's people like, oh, take one article of clothing. And there was like people just taking anything.
Or they would have the kids go multiple times because you won't say anything to your child, and then you try to tell like I remember seeing a 7-year-old and we're like, oh hey, you've already been up, like let somebody else. I'm just like, I don't have to listen to you, and I was like, you don't. You don't.
Yeah, you don't. But I mean, it was like.
But then I'm not going to give you anything. So bye.
But then it's kind of like, but you're in such a unsafe situation.
You can't.
Too,
you just gotta just like, all right, I know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There was like one guy outside that was like running things. Like there was one homeless guy who was a big old dude, and he was kind of running the whole entire show. And I was like, oh shit, he runs this whole outside. And then I was like, oh, I saw how it ran, and I'm like, I'm definitely not.
I'm done. This is the last time.
I'm definitely not doing this again. But that's like another thing with the homeless that I don't fully understand. I don't know how you even resolve that issue, because I've been to LA and I'm kind of like, wow, this is crazy.
Thousands of dollars to live here and experience this.
I feel like it's like it's going to be a never-ending cycle, because we do give so much support to them. Right. So it's like we're gonna build them tiny homes. They're gonna build you a home. They're gonna give you free needles. They're gonna give you free pipes. why
Just
wouldn't you?
enabling.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of like prison. Like when someone is like been in prison for so long, that's all they know. They get their meals, they work out, and they get out and they want to go back in. It's like, I feel like, and
They have
again,
their safety.
I could be 100% wrong because I didn't do a lot of research on this. This is just what I've seen. But my thing is with anything, if it's just given to you over and over again, you have no reason to change.
Right? Why would you? They're enabling them.
Right. So like from what I've seen of them holding, giving needles, giving pipes, giving whatever it is, building homes for them, giving them, we go out and give them blankets. I remember there was a cop that I trained, and he was for Upland PD. And he was like, there's like a 10 freeway. He's like, don't give them stuff, because that's why they all come to Upland now, because they know where the locations are where people give them stuff. He's like, every time you give them stuff,
And it's just
he's
sad
like, give it to a shelter.
You feel bad. You you want to be compassionate, but yeah, I can understand that aspect too.
Yeah, like you said, they go by a whole set of rules. Like we think they're just like, oh, homeless people that set up, but I'm pretty sure they all they have cell phones.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, on the 10 freeway, they're giving out like food, and sure enough, like we opened the gate and it was like flood city.
It's true. Like when Angie and I after like different barbecues she would have, whatever, we'd get like put all the plates together, and then we'd drive around Pomona and pass out the food. And so we would have like sodas, plates, forks, whatever, and give them out. And then we would find like, okay, there's a group of people, we have like 5 plates. And then they're like, hey, and then they're calling other people, can I get a soda for my friend? Can I have this? And we're like, shit, we didn't bring all that much stuff, but they're doing that. Yeah, same thing.
I mean, and also, why wouldn't they take advantage of it?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. That's, you're doing it to help, but
I mean, there's only
I
so
get
much help, and it's
yeah.
like you don't want to come off as not compassionate. You want to come off like you
course.
care. So yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother thing, especially with an election season on the
That's a whole
horizon.
nother one. Yeah.
Man,
Talking about the election.
Man, no, I'm not going to talk about elections. I definitely don't know enough about that.
I did tell Ethan though the other day when we were talking, I was like, the day I will never work again is a day after an election. That,
Remember?
as a personal trainer,
Yeah.
is the most draining day
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah,
That was
I
such a
remember.
bad day.
I remember we worked at a gym. We're not going to say the name. We worked at a gym, and it was a small gym. And I had someone that was very pro-Trump, like very, very pro-Trump. Then we had someone that was very, very like who was running. It wasn't Biden. It was I think it was Hillary Clinton running at that time. Yeah, we had a Republican and a Democrat.
Yeah.
And my client was Republican. He was
And
so
this
happy.
gym was smaller. Like the room that
Yeah.
everyone was in was probably this size. So imagine Jason having a conversation right there.
oh my
Yeah.
God, you can hear
Me having a
everything.
co-
Yeah.
So
hear
then, and he's like, who'd you vote for? I go, oh, I didn't vote. And then he's like, you're part of the party, whatever. So we were talking. I always
part
tell
of the
people I didn't vote because I
Yeah.
didn't want to get into it. And then they started like going off on each other. And I'm like, we had another room. We had to take him to this room.
Yeah.
So then we had to like the whole day we were like, okay, how's your
Yeah,
client? Is your
yeah.
client this? Like we didn't even try to talk about it. It was just such big news. Remember when Trump won, it was like huge
Yep.
news that it
Yeah.
was, everybody was so divided and they're like, well, who did you vote for? I was like, I didn't vote. Like, who would you vote? I don't know.
I've been here, and then with
Yeah, so it's like because you have both clients. You have clients that are Republican, clients that are
Yeah.
Democrat, clients that don't.
even
believe
with
in-
this last one too,
Yeah,
by the
for
same
sure.
thing.
God, I remember that.
Yeah. So just if you're a personal trainer in any service industry, do not work the day after an election. It's
Oh
just
my
stay
God,
We
home.
still
no.
got a little bit of time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, again, you guys, these are important conversations, whatever the topic is. I feel
Yeah.
like people have to have, whether you agree with the person, you don't agree. I don't think there's enough of that going around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from some of the comments on the YouTube from the last one,
Yeah.
not a lot of people agreed with what you said on Target, but that's okay.
Or it was too politically correct.
It was too politically
Yeah.
correct or whatever it is. And we're
We are allowed to have our own opinion.
Yeah, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm very open to discussions
side.
with this. So
Yeah.
if if you want to leave a comment on anything that we said, I'm totally okay with it. I like to try to keep it as, I guess, professional or as civilized as possible. I know that's
of
not
course.
the truth. I
We're
know
not
that's
trying
not
to fight.
yeah,
We
yeah,
can
Yeah.
These are just
agree to disagree.
yeah, these are just topics that we find to be not only controversial but also very interesting.
And we
because-
just happen to have very similar views on it.
yeah, and we happen to have mics in front of us, so
Yeah.
and it just works out. So, but as always, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Bye.
See you later.